Welcome, Ollie. We'll use this as a 15-second warning to make sure we're all set to go. Welcome to our September 18th, 2012 Gilbert Town Council study session. We are at Seville, and it's beautiful, and we appreciate many who have joined us living in the South Gilbert area. We join town leadership and appreciate being here, and this is another great day in Gilbert. Councilmember Peterson will be here in just a couple of minutes. He was on a road that would not get him here unless he was on a golf cart. But he'll make it in just a couple of minutes. Councilmember Ray is on an out-of-town assignment and will not be joining us, but it's a pleasure to be here. As you have seen on our agenda, we begin by reviewing and preparing for a Thursday night town council meeting, which will be at council chambers at Town Hall. And to begin with, it's common for Mayor Lewis to make some assignments to the council. Now, is it correct that Councilmember Ray will not be here on Thursday night? Okay. I had him down to introduce the scouts, and so Councilmember Daniels will give you double duty. On agenda item number 2, the recognition for the Alexander Hamilton Citizen Award, Councilmember Cooper. The agenda 2A, the presentation of Tees and More, Councilmember Daniels, if you could work with Town Manager Banger and do an introduction for that. Agenda item number 3, the proclamation for the Seville Angels Day, Vice Mayor Sens. We have both participated in that, and I know that you'll enjoy presenting that proclamation. You've got a surprise for them, good. Agenda items number 4 and 5 go together, and Councilmember Cook, if you could, with your HR CAP assignment, I think that will also be a good tie into our Gilbert Hispanic Heritage Month. Agenda item number 6, the celebration of the Arts Month. I also have that down for Mayor Lewis. And then agenda item number 7, Vice Mayor Sens as the Chamber Liaison in the Shot Gilbert program, if you could introduce that. Realizing it's a presentation, but I think it'll be more just to do a quick statement. And then 7A, the Constitution Week proclamation, we'll ask Councilmember Peterson to do that. Any questions? Councilmember Cooper, which items would you like to discuss tonight?
Mayor, I don't have anything for tonight.
Vice Mayor Sens?
Nothing, Mayor.
Councilmember Cook?
I don't have any.
Councilmember Daniels?
None for me.
Okay. 13 will be a discussion item, and if we could have, Melanie, will you be the right person to come forward on 13? Or Jessica? Jessica, thank you. If you can come forward on 13.
We couldn't get through one night without pulling Amy.
Sorry.
For the council, I know there was an additional addendum, and if you could give us an overview and any additional comments that will help us in preparation for Thursday night.
Mayor, council members, my name is Jessica Fierro, and I'm the Community Development Supervisor for the town. Mayor, did you want comments on the additional information or the whole?
Also for the citizens here, why don't you give an overview of what 13 is all about, and then if you could make a comment about the addition.
Certainly. Mayor, council members, we are bringing forward an accountability contract with the Leadership Center. We have partnered with the Leadership Center for 15 plus years to provide HOA classes to Gilbert residents, to provide area-wide summits on different HOA and neighborhood topics, and also to provide solvent mediation services for Gilbert residents at a reduced cost. In the past, the accountability contract has been for $15,000 to provide these 3 categories of service. And staff is recommending a reduced contract amount this year of $10,000. We're requesting a cut of $5,000 specifically for the HOA classes for Gilbert residents. The service would not go away, however. Staff has identified other resources that could be provided for free to Gilbert residents. So there would be no YAPN service, there would be no reduction in services, but when staff looked at efficiencies, looking at best-in-class core services, we found that this was an area that we could still provide quality services but reduce expenses to the town. We have provided updated information to council as an addendum to the council memo and draft contract. And that information includes other East Valley cities and how they address providing HOA education to their residents, and also the solvent mediation services. Currently, Gilbert provides the most funding to the Leadership Center at $15,000 per year. In 2011-12, Queen Creek provided $3,500, and Apache Junction provided $5,000. We did contact all of the cities that you see on your addendum directly and asked them how they provided services. Many of them either didn't offer services just because of the number of HOAs in their community, or they provided in-house classes, or through volunteers, volunteer lawyers, property managers. The cities that do not contract with the Leadership Center, their residents can still attend any class in any jurisdiction, but they do have to pay a $10 fee to attend those classes, whereas our contract provides those classes for free for our residents. So that is the request, to just reduce that particular category of service. We would like to continue our partnership with the Leadership Center to provide the 3 HOA summits that are area-wide, and to also provide the solvent mediation services.
Thank you. Council members, are there additional questions or comments? Vice Mayor Sens?
Thank you for the report, Jessica. The question I have is, what additional funding or sponsorships does the Leadership Center has to fund them? Do you know? You know, above and beyond municipalities.
Mm-hmm. Mayor, Vice Mayor Sens, from what I can tell from their latest financial audit of last year, they receive about $65,000 in sponsorships from private businesses and donations.
Okay. So our amount's pretty a small portion of what their total.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Daniels?
Jessica, thank you. And to the Leadership Center as well, thank you for providing this. Because we require HOAs in our community for all new communities coming in, I think we've done that since the late 80s. I think that this is an important component of that. HOAs are mini governments in and of themselves, and so providing resources to them, I think, is beneficial to the community as a whole. I think my biggest concern is the way that this contract has been delayed. It's my understanding it expired at the end of June, and here we are mid-September now, just now having the opportunity to review this contract. And because we've built a relationship with the Leadership Center over time, my preference with all contracts, it's part of our professionalizing our relationships that we've talked about so much over the last several years. I would like to see us be more proactive and make sure that there isn't a time lapse. I think we do a disservice both to our citizens and to the companies and organizations that we do business with when there's a lapse like this. And I know it got passed a couple different hands through some of the reorg, and so this isn't directed specifically at you, Jessica. I realize that you've done all that you can, and Melanie and Helga as well. So whatever we can do to continue to build these relationships and make sure that there's constant and consistent communication, I think is helpful. Thanks.
Thank you. So your thought would be to keep the existing amount from prior year and look at reductions in the next year's contract, or?
I certainly understand the approach that's being taken by staff, and ideally, yes, I think that we've built a relationship with this company, and while a contract shouldn't necessarily be based on it, they are providing value to the community as a whole. At the same time, I recognize what you guys are trying to do, and I'm willing to support the current contract in front of us, with the recognition that we heavily monitor what's going on. I know one of the concerns to having private attorneys donate their time is because they're also looking for business, and so they may be, I guess, approaching HOA presidents or members who are at these meetings. I like the idea that it's sort of a third party that doesn't have a vested interest in maintaining or building those relationships. That's not to say that all attorneys that come forward to assist in that or have that mindset or approach, but I'm mindful of that thought. And so I'm okay. You guys have done your research and done what you needed to do to build this. I think that we probably have some bridges to mend with the Leadership Center and with their organizers, and I think it's in our best interest to do whatever we can to make sure that that relationship maintains a positive spin. So.
Thank you. Jessica, I know that the addendum that we've reviewed, we don't have a lot of people attending the HOA training seminars, and it's in the best interest to have a lot of people attending, and that will strengthen the communities in Gilbert. Have there been some recent discussions with the Leadership Center about how to increase attendance?
Mayor, based on the reports that we've gotten from the Leadership Center, we've had about an average resident attendance of 8. Gilbert residents, that doesn't mean that there aren't other attendees that are going to HOA classes in Gilbert. And so based on the amount that we're funding the Leadership Center on that attendance, we're supplementing quite a bit. I think that there has been various marketing attempts, but that's something that we can certainly look at and see what has been done in the past and find new ways to really market and bring HOAs, especially with all of the new developments that we have in Gilbert. I think that there is an opportunity to really increase the attendance to those classes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Vice Mayor Sens?
Thank you, Mayor. As a president of an HOA, I'm back in the soup, and it's important, as Councilmember Daniel said, if you have common property, we require HOAs. And they're a legal entity with certain restrictions and certain laws that you have to follow. And so this does provide a valuable service. However, looking at the number of people that attend, we're contributing about $104. If you look at, say it's 5,000 we contribute, $104 per person attending, or if we went up to 10 for last year's contract, it'd be $208. And the attendance, I hate to say it, Mayor, but it's kind of like our HOA board meetings. The only time you get people there, and Kevin probably knows this as a management company, is when something really bad is going on. Otherwise, the attendance is 3, 4, 5 people. So, but I'm just a little concerned, and I think you hit on the right thing. What do we do to increase that attendance and get this cost per person attending down to a reasonable number? I think it's a valuable service, but that's a lot of money for subsidy.
Thank you. Councilmember Cooper?
Thank you for pulling this information together. I think it is very important that, and I'm not going to repeat everything that's been said, but I think it is very important to have an independent third party helping to choose the facilitators and the instructors in those meetings. I can see it putting the town in a tough position to referee who's going to be presenting in those settings, and it put an extra burden on our staff here above and beyond some of the other burdens that they already have. And so I think there really is some value in that, a lot of value actually, to be honest with you. And, you know, this addendum was just given to us, and I happened to talk with the Leadership Center folks and ask if they'd had a chance to see it and review it and comment on it. And I know they plan to be here Thursday, but their quick read of it was that there were some possible inconsistencies or some things that weren't in there. So I don't know that I would, as good as it is, I don't know that I'd call it doctrine at this point until we can allow the Leadership Center to respond and make some comments. But I'll tell you, I think I've heard a lot of conversation here about increasing attendance, and I agree, but I can't see how cutting funds would ever help increase attendance. If anything, those funds ought to be retained and even increased and put toward a marketing effort or something like that. Those are kind of my thoughts as I'm looking at it right now, but I'm anxious to hear what the Leadership Center folks say on Thursday.
Thank you. Councilmember Peterson?
Mayor, I've served as it's been my privilege to serve as a liaison to the Leadership Center over the past year or so. And I've attended, I think, most, if not all, of the events they had in Gilbert. And I think there is a great value and service that they're providing. But there is one thing I would like to get some clarity on and just see if there's any thoughts on here. But we do not require HOAs. It's a conditional statement. If a developer decides to create common area, then they have to create an HOA so that there's some body to manage that common space. So, you know, developers are making the decision to create those common areas and therefore putting in the HOAs. And the customers in the free market are making the decision to buy into those. So I don't think we're forcing them to do this. This is a market decision that's market driven. And so I don't think that there is a responsibility on the part of the town to pay for the training necessary for those HOAs to be run smoothly. So I really, fundamentally, I think that they should be paying those costs, just like whatever training we receive on the council, you know, the taxpayers pay for so that we can do a good job on the council. So, you know, at that level, I really don't think that should be subsidized. We have people in Gilbert who don't live in HOAs. And so when we take from the general purse, they're forced to subsidize those who are in the HOAs. I just don't think that's fundamentally fair. So the other part of this, though, is the Solvit service. And I think when you're talking about resolving legal disputes, that is a proper role of government. Certainly that's what our courts do. That's what our police officers handle day to day. So there probably is some proper role in there somewhere. One of the things I would like to see, though, and I've asked staff for this, and there are some numbers, and I'm still crunching them, but just to put this out there, is it's not enough to say it's the proper role. It's also the question of what is the most efficient way to run it. This is pretty efficient. I actually think after I run the numbers, chances are this will be the best way. We're probably saving more in our courts and our police than we're spending with this. But, you know, I don't have any measurables yet. So that's just a gut feeling. And so I'll be looking to nail down those figures and look at that. So it would be my preference, you know, if things, you know, the research goes the way I expect, I think Solvit probably is okay. I think the other side, I really do think that's the role of the HOAs, and they should train their own people with their own funds. So,
Thank you. Any other comments? Councilmember Peterson, 13 was the one topic that we came, thank you, when we went around discussing which topics we wanted, and so I did not get a chance to ask you, do you have other topics that you wanted to have discussed?
Mayor, that was actually the one that I wanted to discuss. Thank you.
And in preparation for Thursday night, we did make assignments, and you'll have assignment 7A, which is to read the proclamation related to Constitution Week. I thought you would like that one. Okay, thank you. To our study session, we have agenda item number 2, which is the presentation related to our compressed work schedule, and we will move to agenda item number 2.
Hello, Mayor Lewis, members of the council. My name is Kurt Sharp. I'm a budget analyst, and presenting with me a little bit later will be Jim Jobush, Assistant Fire Chief. And we are here to present to you the data that we've compiled to compare fiscal year 12 to fiscal year 11 to show you the metrics and their results. Just because about 2 months ago we finished our 1-year anniversary of the new 410 schedule that has gone townwide for the participating departments, which I'll get to in just 1 second. Just a brief history on the compressed work week task force. Again, Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. This was approved by council on January 27th of 2011. Assistant Chief Joe Bush and I were appointed to co-chair this committee, this task force. It was made up of representatives from other departments and divisions throughout the town. After a smooth transition, we have put together the metrics that we're about to present to you. And again, this schedule went effective on July 11th of 2011. So we'll be showing you a before and after with this data. The participating departments, as you can see here, from the Municipal Center 1 building, Town Manager's Office, Finance, and then Support Services. In the Municipal Center 2 building, the participating departments, Development Services and Parks and Recreation. Public Safety building, Fire, went to the new 410 schedule. And Public Works at the Public Works North Yard went to the new schedule. The metrics that we're going to show you today, the first two have to do with customer service. We will show you customer and citizen satisfaction results, as well as customer citizen utilization. We want to show you that they are utilizing the extended hours Monday through Thursday. We did an employee survey. We'll show you the employee satisfaction results. We will also show you the before and after of the sick leave and vacation leave use, productivity, and of course the cost savings and their effect on the budget. First up, customer service. We will show you that customers and citizens are taking advantage of the new extended hours, which are 7 to 8 a.m. and 5 to 6 p.m. We had questionnaires at the customer service counters at the Municipal Center 1 building, 2 building, and Fire Administration, and the Public Works North. From these questionnaires, we have an average here of number of walk-ins per month at each of these customer service counters, and as you can see, Development Services averaged 87 per month during the extended hours, Fire 48 per month, Parks and Recreation 50, the second floor reception area, Municipal Center 1, 13 per month, Public Works North 9 per month, and Utilities 53. We were also able to, with software that we have, we can measure the amount of calls that happen during the extended hours over the total number of phone calls. And here we show that in the Development Services Department, 5.2% of all the calls were during these extended hours. Parks and Recreation, 10%. The second floor reception, MC1, 7.1%. And Utilities, 10.2%. From the questionnaires that I discussed earlier, we had a section in there where the customer was asked if they support the new schedule, don't support it, or were neutral. And from these walk-in customer surveys, we show across the board 87% favorable or neutral responses to the new 410 schedule. And Development Services does a quarterly data call to the commercial customers that go through the planning and development process, design review board process, and the permitting process. We do not have the fourth quarter available yet, but with the first 3 quarters, we have an 85% favorable neutral response from those. And
Clerk, we have a question from Vice Mayor Sens, please.
Yes.
Kurt, do you have back one, please. Do you have a breakdown between favorable and neutral?
We do, but not as part of this presentation. We can certainly get that to you.
Yeah, okay. I'd like it on both of them. I think it's might tell something.
Councilmember Cook?
So is it favorable, neutral, and unfavorable? Is that the three choices that they had?
Yes, on those
I agree.
questionnaires.
I would like to see the data then.
Sure.
Councilmember Peterson?
Yeah, if you had 80% of them neutral, then, we could pair neutral and unfavorable together and get an even bigger number than that one is. So it does matter what those numbers are.
Mayor and Council, we'll sure get that to you. Our last customer service slide is from our employee survey that we completed a couple weeks ago. The question was asked, with the new schedule, the overall impact to the customer serve has been, as you see up there, very positive, 40.2%, 19.1% positive, 34.4% no impact, 4.8 negative, 1.5 negative. So you're looking at about 6.3 negative. And now Jim Jobush will speak on the employee feedback.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. One of the tasks that we were given when we started this process was to include employee feedback and somehow measure the effect it would have that this schedule had on employees as they lived through it and what it might do to their family life and so on. So I'll give you a little bit of the feedback that we have. We sent out a survey after the completion of the first year, and we had about 400 employees respond to the survey. And went the wrong way. Hold on. There we go. The overall favorable or no impact rating from the surveys was 92%. And I'll show you in a couple of slides here in a minute that out of the we had about 21 questions that we asked. Some of them were demographic related, and there were probably a dozen total that asked them specific questions about the impact on their work and their personal lives. But overall, it was a 92% favorable rating. Now, if you look at this one, this is the question we asked. My family and I support the 410 schedule. And you can see here where the neutral or no impact comes in and how the favorable works. So you see strongly agree is almost 70%, 14.9% for agree, and then the neither agree or disagree was about 10%. The unfavorable answers or results, about 6%. Once employees became accustomed to the 410 schedule, the overall impact to employee morale has been, and there you can see it's a similar result for that question. 410 schedule has made it easier to schedule personal appointments without missing work time. Similar results. This is the way it played out throughout the questions. That the favorable rating was above 90% on all of them. The lowest rating we received was about a 12% negative response, and that was from people who had to deal with school children going to and from school, picking them up and dropping them off. But again, the favorable or no impact rating was above 80. It was about 88%. Let me real quick cover the leave use. There was another question that came up is what would the impact be on vacation and sick leave? Sick leave actually increased over the year we were under the schedule by 3.6%. Vacation leave decreased by about 1%. As HR compiled these numbers, they were wanted this note to kind of show you that these numbers, it's difficult to attribute the schedule or these numbers to the schedule because a lot of things factor into it. And so I think it'd be difficult to take 1 year's worth of data here and say this has been the impact in this area because things like Family and Medical Leave Act, long-term leaves for medical reasons, and then also the extra military leave that some of our folks have taken vacation time for. So it may require more time and a little more farming of the data to sort that one out.
Well, Councilmember Peterson with a question.
On this one, did we convert to hours before we did the percentages, or is this days?
This is ours.
Okay, thanks.
Employee turnover was another concern, and the year prior, fiscal year 11, the turnover rate, this is voluntary turnover, was just under 6%, and then during the year of the schedule, it was right at 5%. Employee exit interviews, there were 2 employees who indicated during their exit interviews that the schedule was a factor in them leaving the town. Productivity, another concern. We tried to evaluate this a couple of different ways. We asked the question of supervisors and of employees about productivity and how they felt it was. And from the employee standpoint, you can see that greatly increased was about 38%, moderately increased 23%, and then the same or no impact was about 34%. And then there were some that felt like there was a decrease in their productivity. And then asking the supervisors the same question, similar types of numbers, that there was no impact or it was favorable for their productivity. There doesn't appear to be any evidence that we're missing deadlines or that we're not able to meet the deadlines for payroll and accounts payable and so on. That is still occurring as it should. So there's really no evidence that it's had an impact there. You know, some occasional problems, and in the comments that we received from the employees, there were 185 of them. And the favorable versus unfavorable are similar types of percentages, but that was one area where the employees kind of chimed in where, you know, there were negatives and positives to the schedule, and where sometimes it was great on this schedule because they were able to get more done in the day, or they could configure their day where the last hour or the first hour were kind of alone time where they weren't bombarded by the customers, and then others felt like they lost a day occasionally. But overall, the productivity was positive from the employee standpoint and the supervisors. Okay, I'll let Kurt finish up here with the financial impact and the summary.
The first one we'll look at is fuel use. For all of the departments and divisions that went to the new 410 schedule, we saw a decrease of 0.7% in fuel use for those who went on the new schedule. And we compared that to the 7.1% increase by the departments and divisions that remained on the 5-day, 8-hour-a-day schedule. And the gallons are shown there. In the next slide, energy consumption. We took the MC1 and MC2 along with the Public Works North building. The reason we chose these 3 buildings because they were the most affected by those changing to the new 410 schedule. And in the second column, I have listed the utility bills for those fiscal years. And as you can see, MC1, we have just about a 3% savings, 9.5 at MC2, Public Works North, about 6.4. And in the shaded column, as far as we know, the rates did not change during this time of measurement. So we did want to show the kilowatt hours, which is the actual energy consumption, and compared those from the year before. And as you can see, the energy consumption, 4%, just about 12% in MC2, and just about 10% in the Public Works North building. In the far right 4 columns, I did some calculations having to do with degree days. Because the year we went to a 410 schedule, it was a hotter year. And the outside weather is a big factor when it comes to energy consumption. A degree day is commonly used in calculations having to do with building energy consumption. Basically what it is, It's a measure of how much in degrees and for how long in days. The base temperature I used was 68 degrees. And the results we have here, cooling CDD, cooling degree days, those are the number of degree days over that 68 degree base. And just the opposite for heating degree days. Heating degree days are the number of degree days below that 68 base. And as you can see there, when we calculate in the temperature, you're looking at a considerable savings with energy consumption.
Yes, Councilmember Cook, you may clap.
Thank you.
Hotter days or cooler days?
So to summarize, with the data we've shown you, and again, Mayor Lewis, members of the council, we'll get you the breakdown on the customer service counter questionnaires. But just to summarize, as you can see, that the customers and citizens are utilizing the new extended hours, and the customer surveys are supportive of the new schedule. Employee satisfaction and productivity has been positive, and the budget-related data indicates some savings. And if there are any questions, we'd like to answer those for you now.
Vice Mayor Sins?
One question I have, let me make a statement first. When we went to the 410s, and I think this relates to the goals that we've set, I would like to see them, to the manager, be hourly based, not day based. Because we've gone, if we say we're going to do something in 6 days, 8 days, is it 6 or 8 days of 8-hour days, or is it 6 or 8 days of 10-hour days? And we haven't adjusted for that, and that bothers me a little bit, because what we've done in some cases is added to our goal, decreased it by 20% essentially, by saying, well, we'll do it in so many days, but the number of hours required, it's up significantly. The question I had, when you showed all the people that participated, I saw one that was not there, and that's the South Area Service Center. Why did they choose, or why were they not put on 410s?
The reason that we didn't include South Area Service Center is because many of them were already on a 410 schedule, and the amount of employees there wasn't substantial enough that we didn't measure that because of the low number of employees there and the number that were working 410s already.
And I note for our citizens that our firefighters, police officers we're 24/7, and so their schedules are not even a regular 5-day or 4-10. It's coverage that gives us a service 24/7. And so, as you pointed out at the start of the presentation, this is for individuals that typically were in a work setting that was a Monday through Friday, but shifted to the Monday through Thursday 10 hours.
Yes, Mayor Lewis, members of the council, the public safety was certainly not compromised with the new schedule. When we mention fire here, we mean the fire admin area of the public safety complex.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, or Councilmember Peterson?
Mayor, I just want to repeat, I've shared this concern before, but Vice Mayor Sins has touched on it as well. I do have concerns with the hours versus days issue. In particular, when we changed the 410s, I think people got the same number of days for vacation as they did before, but that's more vacation hours than they had before. And so that's fewer productive hours out of that employee, or at least allowed if they take all their vacations days. And so we're paying more per productive hour than we used to if everyone takes all their vacation time. So I'm not seeing that becoming a problem at this point. Sounds like if we convert it to hours before we looked at sick leave and vacation days, we're not seeing a problem with that at this point, but you know, it's something I think we need to keep an eye on.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I
Okay.
could real quick. It's not true with vacation days. That is based on hours. It is with holiday days, though. That was days and not done by hours. So we are taking a look at that with our comp and class and benefit survey that's going on. You're welcome.
Thank you. Councilmember Daniels?
Thank you, Mayor. I know that I, for one, was really looking forward to this presentation because there was a lot of discussion when we did go to 410s, and I'm glad to see that there have been some benefits both to the public and to our employees. I think maybe what we need to discuss, Mayor, at a future meeting is whether these benefits are enough for us to keep going with the program, and if we leave it as an indefinite program. I think right now, well, at least when we discussed it the first time, we talked about it sort of being on a trial basis, that we would look at things a year from now. And while we don't have this listed as a policy item, I think it might be helpful to have this on a future agenda just to make a statement both to our employees and to our public that this is either a permanent or that we are looking for other options. And so that would be my suggestion for
Thank
a
you.
future meeting.
Thank you for that suggestion, and we'll ask our town leadership to please add that to a future agenda so that can be a discussion item. Thank you. Anything else? Councilmember Cooper?
Just like a copy of the presentation, and perhaps it could be put out publicly as well, but there was a couple of slides I wanted to look at a little more closely. Thanks.
Thank you. Next on our study session is a number 3 item that talks about efficiency and effectiveness. And to the council, if I had my desire in a setting like this where quarterly we are going to different parts of Gilbert, I'd want to have everyone in the room introduced and relationship building. But for effectiveness, I do think it would be appropriate to have some introductions, and then for those who are here, and many of you will be presenting in a few minutes, we will hope that when we finish, we'll have a few minutes to get to know you, introduce ourselves, and make sure that you know that we appreciate you as citizens and appreciate being here in South Gilbert, and it is a pleasure to be here. So as far as just quick introductions, let me start to my left. Councilmember Daniels, if you could formally give us your name and if there's anything else, but name, let's start with name.
I'm Jen Daniels.
Eddie Cook, and I live on the opposite side of the town. This was a very long drive, but a beautiful drive, but thank you.
Mayor John Lewis, and 27 years ago, this was all a long distance to get here, but it is beautiful, and we love coming down to South Gilbert.
Hi, I'm Vice Mayor John Sents, and when I moved to Gilbert 36 years ago, I think this was part of Tucson.
Victor Peterson. I'm told I'm the furthest south council member, but that's not that far south, so we are grateful to be out here and appreciate the attendance.
Ben Cooper, and I love South Gilbert. I have family that lives down here, and some of the best neighborhoods we have in Gilbert are down here, and so thank you for being here. It's a privilege for all of us to be here.
Patrick?
Yeah, I'm Patrick Banger. I'm the town manager here in Gilbert. I've been here for just over a year now, and beautiful community. Thanks for having us.
Good evening. I'm Mark Skosipik. I'm the deputy town manager and have been with Gilbert for 10 years.
And Mark, where do you live?
I am a very proud Seville resident.
Okay. And is that why we are now? For Mark, yes, and Mark is excited to be here, and this is home. And I emphasize again that for Gilbert, 72.7 square miles is all Gilbert, and we want every resident of Gilbert, our 220,000, to all feel part of a unit where we're working together to provide the best services and best solutions for now and for the future. And I slightly go back to agenda item number 1, because in just a moment we are going to be very specific talking about South Gilbert. As a whole, there is an activity that will be held at Town Hall this Saturday evening, and we invite all of you to come. There are a few flyers that are on the table as you come in, and it's about the Constitution Fair. Gilbert has what has become known as the largest Constitution Week celebration in the country. And Saturday night, if you've not had an opportunity to attend the Constitution Fair, it's a program that begins at 6 p.m. It's outdoors, and at 8 p.m. is a very formal program. So from 6 to 8, it's more various booths and activities you can attend. At 8 p.m., a formal program which ends with fireworks at about 9 p.m. We invite you to come, and as part of Constitution Week, there is a movie that shows the signing or the Constitution Convention that was held 225 years ago. And that has been shown on Channel 11 3 times already and will be shown 3 more times. It's called A More Perfect Union, and that will be Thursday, Friday, and Saturday at noon. Anything else about Constitution Week or other items before we get very specific into South Gilbert? Thank you. Agenda item number 4 on the study session is to have a presentation on capital improvement projects and other projects that are taking place in South Gilbert. Edgar, please.
Mayor Lewis, council members, I'm Edgar Medina, Assistant Town Engineer over Capital Projects, and also a South Gilbert resident. Item number 4 is a quick presentation on active major CIP projects in South Gilbert, designated South Gilbert just by virtue of the 202. So the image presented on the screen here identifies active projects both in design and in construction. The red projects are primarily the ones that are in construction, and then the blue are in design. We are fortunate enough to have quite a bit of activity in the south part of the town in terms of street improvements, and it's primarily what we are right now considering a major project because they tend to be the most visible to the traveling public and to the residents. We do have 10 major projects that I identified in South Gilbert, starting off with the street project, and it's our 2 million gallon reservoir project that's located on the northwest corner of Ray Recker. We are currently under construction. We have a great contractor and a great team. We're currently slightly ahead of schedule, and it's being constructed through PCL, and our engineer is Carollo. We're currently scheduled to be done in March of 2013. If the schedule holds true, we'll slightly beat that deadline. Item number 2, or project number 2, has been on the books for some time. It's actually our ST62 project, which is Higley and Williamsfield. I know that it's probably our most congested intersection and probably the project that we get the most amount of calls on as far as when we're going to do it. Well, I'm proud to say that we actually started construction today. And even though
Is that another round of applause? Okay.
So you'll start seeing quite a bit of activity at that intersection, more so next week with some demolitions and so forth. But it is a very, very congested area, so we are looking to improve that into a 6-lane in each on both Higley and Williamsfield. And we currently have a Hunter Contracting, who's also a contractor here locally in Gilbert, who's building that. So,
Vice Mayor Sens?
Edgar, on number 2, have we acquired all the right-of-way now? Are we ready to go full speed ahead?
Mayor Lewis, Vice Mayor Sens, that's correct. We do have all the property we need and all the...
Wonderful.
so.
Thank you. That was a tough job, and appreciate the hard work.
Project number 3 is our regional partnership with City of Mesa and the county. It's our power road from Pecos to 202. If residents have driven it, you'd be stuck in traffic for the most part, or at least moving smoothly through traffic control. It's on schedule. We started construction last December, and are currently working actually on the second phase of that. So you start in the next couple of months, you'll actually start seeing quite a bit more activity on the bridges. But that's currently on schedule, and it'll be complete next November 2013. 4 is actually, I just identified it. It's actually, we're not under construction anymore. It's completed. So that's our Greenfield Road project from Pecos to just south of Greenfield, just by the soccer complex entrance. That was completed by Vaneke Construction in March of this year. So we're very happy to provide that additional thoroughfare from 202 down to, the connection roads to Pecos, Germain, and Chandler Heights. Project number 5 is actually a new project that we are just now starting design. It's the Germain Road from Val Vista to Higley. Again, this is one of the last corridors, our east-west corridors, that will tie into Val Vista to get people to travel in an efficient way from the 202. One of the things that these corridors are ultimately going to do is to try to evenly direct or take flow off of the 202 and not concentrate it on our Pecos interchange now, and also our Higley. So we want to be able to utilize these thoroughfares to evenly disperse the traveling public. Project number 6 is, I just showed it just for to identify that it's complete. It's our ST 101 project, which is Greenfield Road from Queen Creek down to Chandler Heights. I'm sure that most of the public or the audience here has driven down that way, because it is a way down to get to southeast Gilbert as well as Seville, and that was a very challenging project in the sense of the irrigation coordination as well as the bridge widening at Chandler Heights. Project number 7 is actually a new project that we are currently under design. We have a great engineering firm by the name of Infra who's designing 2.5 miles from Appleby to Riggs Road. And again, it's going back to that concept of providing the thoroughfares off of the 202 to get people down to the southeast valley of town. This project will ultimately widen Val Vista to 6 lanes, provide the connection points to the newly constructed Queen Creek Road, the newly constructed Chandler Heights, and the newly constructed Riggs Road, and get people to funnel accordingly.
Edgar?
Yeah.
Quick question. On that one there, since I believe it borders the city of Chandler, are they partnering on it, or how's that project moving forward?
Mayor Lewis, Councilmember Cooper, absolutely. City of Chandler is one of our stakeholders, and they have been part of, the project is barely at the 15% design, but they have been part of the initial design meetings to ensure that they are getting some of the access points, some of the property acquisitions that we're going to need, as well as some utilities that are going to be rerouted on their side. So they do represent on the west side approximately a mile of frontage. Project number 8 is our Chandler Heights from Rockwell to Val Vista. It's under construction. That actually was broken up into 2 phases. So what's under construction now is the last phase of Chandler Heights, which is just approximately west of Greenfield to Val Vista. Again, it's just the same concept of trying to complete these arterials in the east-west direction. This will tie into the ST 112 that I mentioned from Val Vista project, which will build from Val Vista Appleby to Riggs. So we're hoping to be done. We're a little ahead of schedule again, so we should be done by November of this year. So we're kind of excited. Not so good news. There will be a closure at that intersection as we do the intersection itself at Val Vista and Chandler Heights, and that's coming up here later this month. So,
Mayor, that's not too far from a couple of schools. Are we coordinating with Chandler School District on that?
Yeah, Mayor Lewis, Councilmember Cooper, yes, we do extensive amount of coordination with the transportation departments with all the school districts as we impact them to ensure that the bus routes are rerouted accordingly. Ideally, the closure is actually going to occur on one of the weeks that the school is out for session, so we're taking advantage of the school break as well.
And have we encouraged them and found ways to work together on notifying parents and others? I understand that you've got the school bus routes kind of discussed, but the outreach to the parents that may be driving their children.
Mayor Lewis, Councilmember Cooper, again, that's part of that coordination effort with the school, where we provide outreach material to be provided to the parents. So that's an effort that is part of the project. our project number 9 is bounds Seville. We're under construction on Riggs Road, which is from Val Vista to Wrecker. It represents our entire limits of Gilbert, actually. And we have a phenomenal, actually, construction company that's exceeding our expectations. They're actually ahead of schedule by several months. And, just to give you a sense of accomplishment, we had committed to signalize Adora Trails by October, and we actually were able to get that signal up and operational before the school year in late July. So that project is coming along very well. Our contract time is actually at the end of the year, but we intend to be done hopefully by October or the 1st of November. So we're doing very well on that. The last project identified on the map is 10, which is Higley Road from Riggs down to Hunt Highway. That actually is fully designed and it's been shelved due to lack of construction funding. As we move forward in the future, and we see some available funding sources, we should be bringing that project back to construction.
Thank you.
Those are the major projects for the south part of Gilbert.
Councilmember Cook?
Construction project number 9. Last year, you may remember, as I am a liaison to the Chandler School Board, many parents, petitioned us to help that particular intersection. So I want to, on behalf of the council and the residents, thank you for helping that elementary school and the traffic flow for there. And I'll be glad when I go to visit them again to share that report, that we are ahead of schedule.
Thank you. Edgar, anything else that you have?
A couple of notes. It's not shown on the map itself, but we did complete Queen Creek Road from Val Vista to the bridge, just west of Higley Road. That was done on time and under budget. A project that's not being done by the town is actually the county is going to start designing Riggs Road just at Wrecker, where our CIP project ends, and they'll be widening that in the next year or two to 4 lanes from Wrecker to Power. So that's a county project.
Okay, so that would be take project 9 and go east.
Yes.
Thank you. Anything else? Now, you've got also part 2, is that correct, that talks about, I see this other document. Is that part of your presentation?
Mayor Lewis, council members, that is not part of that. That was part of another discussion if an item was pulled.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that update. We will move to agenda item number 5, which is to receive an overview of neighborhoods at a global perspective, and then we'll bring it down to South Gilbert. And Helga, please introduce yourself.
I am Helga Stafford, Neighborhood Services Specialist since 1999, and I'm happy to be here. First off, I would like to welcome all the neighborhood representatives that are here. If you could stand up, and if you're standing up, if you could wave, I'd appreciate it. Okay, well, thank you. Now, last time I appeared before you in April at Power Ranch, we talked a lot about the past and the present of Gilbert neighborhoods. And on the suggestion of Mayor Lewis, we're going to talk about the future. Currently, Gilbert has 83,000 housing units, and what we have projected is that there is going to be a minimum estimate of housing units over 97,000. Our average estimate is 129, and the maximum estimate is over 161,000. Now, in southern Gilbert, at build-out, we'll have 2,397 units north of the Santan and west of Val Vista, and 1,897 units north of Santan and east of Val Vista. So we have quite a bright future coming up. In the not too distant future, we have an event that we hope all the neighborhood leaders will attend. We're going to have on the 25th at 7:30 a.m. The 2012 Gilbert Faith Group Summit, and we're going to have discussions with our neighborhood leaders. So please consider coming, and if you do come, please give us a call. The number is there on the screen, and also there are some flyers out into the hallway.
Helga, if I could just add a reason why we wanted to make sure our neighborhood leaders were invited is that we as a community are preparing for a Make a Difference Day on Saturday, October 20th. And so both the faith group leaders and our neighborhood leaders will have a chance to receive more details and to help us with the final planning. But at that meeting, that's where information on that Make a Difference Day will be presented.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Okay, now we'll hear from neighborhood leaders from the southern area of Gilbert. The first neighborhood that will be represented is Seville, and then Trilogy, and then Portofino. And if the leaders wouldn't mind coming up one at a time, introduce yourself, as well as describe your neighborhood, and then talk about the challenges as well and the highlights of your neighborhood. Before I sit down, I want to make sure that we thank the Seville Golf and Country Club for hosting this meeting. They were very generous and helpful in helping us plan this. So thank you very much. Okay, can I see the representative from Trilogy?
Or Seville.
I'm sorry, Seville.
Thank you.
Right behind you.
All right.
Good afternoon. My name is Ron Earl. I'm the president of the Seville HOA. And 10 years ago, we came over here on the 4th of July, left the beautiful climate of Orange County, the foothills at 76, arrived here, and it was, I think, 105. One of our sons had just had a child and needed a place to live. We came out here, and it was the end of the world. Wound up buying them a house. They lived there for a year, and lo and behold, we wound up moving into that house. And I think the greatest decision I think we've ever made in our lives. I guess we're not going to be on this thing. We have two guests I'd like to introduce. Carla Helmstetter, she's the Vice President of East Valley Operations for AAM, which is our management company, and Nancy Wadas, who is our Community Manager. The first home in Seville closed escrow on December 31st, 2001. Seville has a total of 2,878 total lots at build-out, and we're currently at 2,673, or 93% that have closed escrow. So you better hurry if you want to buy a house there. We're running out. Some of the highlights of our beautiful community: we have 1,381 acres. There's 1,363,000 square feet of turf and 4,500 beautiful orange trees. And I will get into a little bit of that later. We also have 8,195 non-citrus trees, and we have 5,700 feet of granite. Financially, Seville is a very, very strong HOA. We've managed our dollars that we have brought from our homeowners. Well, we just had a capital improvement reserve study. It was completed just weeks ago, and we are funded beyond what they require. Those that don't know what a reserve fund is, it's to make sure that we have enough money downstream to make all the improvements and replace all the streets and sidewalks and all the things that the city doesn't handle. So we're ahead of that, and financially we're very secure. We have a good base. Some of our challenges, one of which we probably need to work with the city a little bit. We get our water from the city of Gilbert, and it's the affluent or reclaimed water. The alkalinity is up at 10, and we're seriously affecting our orange groves to the point we've got trees dying like crazy. We have a solution. We just need to meet with the city to affect that. Mm-hmm. The next thing that we're concerned about, and it's not a big item, but it's the crime issue. We have employed a private security service that patrols 2 nights a week in the evening, and even with that, we've still had some burglaries, and to us that's not acceptable. As long as there's one person that loses something in our community, we feel the pain all over. So one of the things we're looking forward to is working with the city to implement a neighborhood watch program. I'm going to, because I was asked to do this, to let you know some of the things that the Seville residents have done to help the community. At the golf club, there's a charity classic annually that is brought in over $150,000 the last 4 years for MDA. That's Augie's Quest and breast cancer research. Then we have a batter sharp shootout, which brings in all the ladies professional golfers from around the world to raise money for Alzheimer's. So we feel good about that. And then our men's club raises tens of thousands of dollars annually in their tournaments to go to charity. And we also host the East Valley Firefighters, Gilbert Chamber of Commerce, Zaneros, and dozens of other events that are held at our beautiful club. We feel that we have contributed immensely to the beauty of the area. We work very, very hard on making this a beautiful place. We have a great concern for what it looks like every day, and we feel a very good landscape contractor that makes sure it is. We have somebody patrol the main Seville Boulevard every morning, picking up the debris and litter, and we think we have a great place. And looking back now, 10 years ago, that decision was very, very good on our part to come to move to this outpost of the world, which is now kind of the center of everything as I look at it now. I looked at your numbers there, and I think we've got more than you've got over there, don't we? So, again, I want to thank you for the opportunity to present a little bit about our community. Do you have any questions about Seville?
Ron, as we know, it is like a little city you're helping lead and manage, and we appreciate that. It sounds like it's 93% built out. Do you have a rough estimate how many citizens live in Seville?
Over 3,000? Over 3,000.
Okay. Thank you. Other comments?
And I think they all vote, too.
Well, we want to thank you for, your active participation in the voting process. I do have a comment. I know that I've had the privilege of attending a couple Power Ranch combination South Gilbert HOA meetings that were, I think, facilitated by maybe the Power Ranch property management. And I know Chief Dorn's team of the police officers that cover this area do give quarterly reports of the kind of the crime that's in the area. I don't know if Seville is part of that kind of a joint meeting or not, but I think you're more than welcome to attend that, I think, when they have that. So, Chief Dorn, I don't know if your team that comes down that does that presentation include Seville as part of that presentation.
Eddie, sorry, Mayor, if I could just jump in for a moment. They actually don't include Seville in those meetings, but I think Seville and some of your neighboring communities, your Shamrock Estates and some of the other areas that are immediately surrounding you could all benefit from that type of environment where they bring various HOAs from the vicinity and get together to discuss those types of issues. And of course, our staff is always available to help, as are we as council. So if that's something that you're interested in,
Yeah, I'm sure we would.
just let us know.
And in conclusion, we're having a little get-together for all our residents here on the 29th. We've got little trains and bounce houses and food, and you're all invited. Please come. It's at our West Park.
What time would that be, Ron?
It's all day, isn't it? 10 to 2. We have music and food and a little bit of everything. So.
Vice Mayor Sens, music and food, he loves that. He gets up and dances. Thank you. We appreciate the invitation. We would love to join
Thank
you.
for your time.
Mayor, I got kicked off Dancing with the Stars, so.
Okay.
Ron, I wanted to thank you for inviting the chamber back year after year. And after this last year, I hope we can come back again. Our manager, I think he probably caused you to replace half the turf in his golf. He needs a lot of work.
You know, I'm out there a few days a week, and I haven't noticed anything that I've fallen into or tripped over. So he must be replacing his divots, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Fran Moeller, and I'm a Trilogy resident. I moved to Phoenix from Northern California in 1960, so you can imagine the changes that I've seen. And when I used to think of coming to Gilbert, it was like going on a long journey, and I never did think that I would live in this part of the county. But being in Gilbert has been a wonderful experience for me. I love the town. I moved here in 2004 and moved into probably the best adult community that we have in the valley. With me is Ian Walsh, who is our executive director, and we have a lot going on at Trilogy. Let me tell you, if you're retired, I think your schedule is busier than when you aren't. My kids call or friends call, and I say, wait a minute, got to get the calendar. And it's a wonderful time of life and very fulfilling for me. At Trilogy, we have 2,035 homes. We're completely built out. And I think it's been 4 years since we transitioned from developer managed to self-managed. It's been a real growing experience. I've been on the board, maybe this is my 5th year, and I'm currently serving as secretary on our HOA board. We've had a lot going on this past year at Trilogy. We have spent through our reserves and over $500,000 on improvements at our community. And like Seville, we're very well funded. We have a lot of retired financial people at Trilogy. And let me tell you, they keep a good eye on our finances and making sure that we're very financially sound. We've put in 4 new state-of-the-art tennis courts, absolutely gorgeous. We've had a major renovation of our swimming pools and surrounding area. We're now going through some of the asphalt recoating. And the biggest thing that we've done is we've just completed the redecoration and some renovation of the main room, the card room, and the library at our clubhouse. And we had an open house, a grand opening, a reopening on Saturday, and it was a great success. You might be interested to know that the members of the advisory group who was working on that wanted their names kept anonymous, because you can imagine how many people come in and say, you picked that color? What do you mean? So it was an interesting thing, but the comments we got back were overwhelmingly positive on how great our clubhouse looks now. And I know many of you have been out, and so hopefully you can visit again and you'll see the difference. This coming year is going to be quite a challenge for us is we don't have enough space. It's really a great one to have in one respect, and I'm talking about space for activities, because our residents want to be involved in a lot of social activities, and more important, they want to be involved in improving and maintaining their health. When our winter visitors, this is hard for me to say, winter residents return to the community and everybody's back, we have to move our aerobic and exercise classes to our ballroom. They won't fit into our fitness studio, and there's long waits for our equipment. And so we had a group of residents who are on a planning committee who have presented a tremendous plan for us to take care of this problem. And we're planning, what we're proposing is to build a 2-story separate building as our fitness center, be about 10,000 square feet. It will be triple of what we have now. And I just think that's a great problem to have, that you don't have enough room for your activities. The committee pointed out that building new is the best way to go. We had a expansion program a few years ago that was not passed by our residents, and we were going to knock out a few walls and add a few feet. And I'm really glad now that that didn't pass, because this is a much better way for us to go. The cost per square foot is much less. We'll be able to repurpose the areas that are going to be vacated, and there won't be disruption of our activities and classes during the construction period. So we are really looking forward to this. We're very fortunate at Trilogy. I mentioned the financial people we have there, but we have very talented people who are former or currently working in many professions, and they served on our planning committee to help come together with what would be the best proposal. They looked at usage, they looked at future needs, and put all of this together to come up with what we want to do. If we had had to pay to have this study done that they did, it would have probably cost us $25,000 to $50,000. And these are people who served on this committee who do this as consultants. So it was an excellent job. The next step is for our board of directors to vote on passing a pre-designed study of the project, and we're meeting tomorrow, and it will be presented for a vote then. And so we're looking forward to knocking on the door down at the Town of Gilbert buildings and saying we need your help in passing our, helping us get our permits and all the things that we need to do so we can make this a reality. We have a very short schedule. We're hoping to be under construction in less than a year. So we're not fooling around, I'll tell you. The gentleman from Seville mentioned the volunteer hours that are given from his community, and I'd like to mention how much Trilogy residents give back. Very involved at hospitals as volunteers, very involved in supporting House of Refuge and other organizations like that. A very generous community and just a delightful place to live. So thank you very much for your time and attention, and we'll look for your help as we go through our next building project. Thank you.
Town Manager Banjer, we have a 10,000 square foot facility that needs to be on time, on schedule, so when they knock on the door, they're going to hear the phrase that we love to share, open to business. So that's what you're here, Fran. And similar to the question for Ron, and you also mentioned that this can vary for the winter and summer residents, but do you have an estimate how many citizens are in Trilogy?
I would guess probably about between 3,200 to 3,500. It's amazing. We do have, I would guess maybe 30 or 40% of our residents who have homes up north and in the Midwest. So we delight when they come back, because then it is very energetic and feels very good, although we continue with a lot of activities in the summer for our full-time residents.
Thank you. Other questions for Fran? Comments? Thank you.
Hi, Mayor and Council. My name's Michelle Hunsaker, and we live in the community of Portofino, and I'm on the HOA board there. And we have a great community. It's a small community. It's 30 homes. And we only have one vacant at the time. So I don't know if that's good odds or bad odds, but they sell very well. We haven't had too much troubles with the economy on our homes. It is an orange lot, and it's right here connected with Seville. So we get to have the great surroundings of Seville. We love Seville. Some of our challenges is that it's a private street. It's a gated community. So we're in charge of sealing the road. And we were wondering if we can be informed of when the rest of the communities around us are sealing their streets, so that maybe we could get a discount on sealing our street. And that way it could benefit us, because we're only 30 lots and it's quite an expense for us.
Just pause for a minute to our town leadership. I'm sure that can be arranged, and if you could please make note of that, Vice Mayor Sens.
Yeah, I thought we had that as a policy.
Okay.
I mentioned I'm president of our HOA. We have 60 homes, private streets, no gates.
Yeah.
And we partnered with the town from a timing standpoint. We didn't just seal our streets, we had to do an overlay.
Yeah.
And so we're trying to work that for all of the HOAs with private streets in the town. So
Yeah, that would be great.
We'll
That's
make
a
sure and
huge
get
help.
with you.
Yeah. And then one of our other concerns is that our neighborhood has 2 alleys along. It's just one long street, and there's 2 alleys on both sides behind the homes. And there's no gate, and it's considered part of the Gilbert trail system. We are concerned, though, it ends at the Riggs Elementary School, and some of the kids will come down the alley during recess, and so we're just a little concerned about liability, because we are responsible for that liability issue and coverage if one of the kids or somebody was to get hurt on the alley as part of the Gilbert trail system. And so we were curious as to, is there any coverage from the town of Gilbert?
That could also be something that we can make note of, and I think, Helga, you could help follow up on that too.
And wondering if we could get some kind of gate, walk-through gates or something, just so that there's a little more security there for the school children and for us as a neighborhood. And that's all for our challenges. We love our community, and we love Gilbert. So,
Thank you for the presentation. Any questions or comments for Michelle? Thank you.
yeah, no problem.
On the agenda, we have communication from citizens, and as it would be noted on a Thursday night agenda, for the 4 who have requested to speak, that this is also a very helpful time. As we will listen to you, we do not have the ability to respond other than to ask our town leadership to possibly follow up on items, but we do appreciate the 4 citizens who have asked to make some comments, to be here and to share some of those comments. We typically, in a formal environment, will have a timer, and Mark will be somewhat flexible, but why don't we assume in a 3 to 4 minute range, and if there's something that is getting a little bit longer, we can talk, you can maybe make note of that, but we'll try and be real flexible. And Vice Mayor Sens, if you could now conduct this part of our study session with the 4 that have requested to speak.
Thank you, Mayor. The first speaker is Greg Ostapuk.
And Greg, as you come forward, if you could set the stage for the record of the meeting, if you can just announce your name and if you are a Gilbert resident.
Thank you, Mayor, Town Council. My name is Greg Ostapuk. I am a resident of Gilbert. I'm actually not here to represent a particular neighborhood, but I wanted to speak briefly about Senate Bill 1525. And you're probably all aware of that bill and the impact fees. How will it affect the future parks and other amenities in South Gilbert? Reportedly, the town of Gilbert is taking in $1,200 less per dwelling unit for impact fees now than before the law was passed. Impact fees for water and wastewater remain the same, but we are taking in $1,200 less per unit right now. Furthermore, Gilbert is now limited on how the impact fees are spent. According to the Arizona Republic, the funding sources for several large-scale projects in South Gilbert may now be in jeopardy. A 140-acre riparian preserve near Higley and El Catillo, as you probably have all passed by, the town was expected to use $8.5 million in park system development fees to complete the preserve by 2018. The 140-acre park would double as a water recharge site. However, the new law specifically excludes water reclamation or riparian areas and wetlands from its definition of a necessary public service. Another area is the 80-acre Southwest Activity Center that is very near my subdivision, is Greenfield Acres and Greenfield Road in Chandler Heights. Reportedly, the town planned to use $17 million in development fee revenue to complete that construction by 2027. The park is larger than 30 acres, which is allowed by SB 1525. However, larger parks are allowed if they provide a quote-unquote direct benefit to the development where impact fees are being assessed. 55-acre Hetcher Park near Queen Creek and Greenfield Roads is another piece. Nearly $20 million in funding was expected to come from park impact fees for that. Once again, a direct benefit must be shown in order to use those impact fees. And then aquatic centers are no longer allowed with SB 1525. Gilbert has plans for 2 future aquatic centers, one at the Gilbert Public School site and another at a Higley Unified School District site. The aquatic centers will be funded through $15.5 million in park impact fees. But the legislation only allows now for pools, not aquatic centers. A month ago, I was able to participate in Gilbert's master plan, which was great. Got a lot of good feedback, and it was clear from the residents there that these 4 pieces and other amenities are clearly needed for those of us that live in South Gilbert, and also the future residents that are going to be moving here, and also is desirable for us as we try to entice businesses to come here as well. Parks and amenities are a huge reason why many businesses want to relocate. So it is very important for us down here. And it brings to mind many questions that come to mind. You know, how must Gilbert satisfy that direct benefit to the developers? Can Gilbert use impact fees to fund larger than 30-acre parks if they double as flood control or drainage areas? And what is the SB 1525's definition of an aquatic center? And how can Gilbert build public schools around that definition? How do we plan and spend wisely to meet the 10-year expenditure deadline? We have to use these funds within 10 years. And is a town audit every 2 years better than an advisory panel? I understand the League of Cities and Towns is working on further clarifying the SB 1525, and Mayor, you're involved with that as well too. But however, I would ask the town council to direct town staff to thoroughly research SB 55 so Gilbert can work within the parameters of the law and yet fulfill Gilbert's master plan objectives. Thanks.
Greg, thank you. And all those items are noted, a lot of great points, and we'll just turn to our right and ask for follow-up on that. Thank you. Vice Mayor Sens, next.
Todd Schmidt.
Hi, Mr. Mayor and council members. I live in a community right across the street from Seville in Cordova. We're a 40-unit small development. And we are currently working with the Postal Department of Queen Creek and Gilbert Postal Department because we have a mailing address of Queen Creek, yet we pay our taxes to Gilbert, we pay all our utilities to Gilbert, and we just want to have a Gilbert address. We might need your assistance to do something with the postmaster from Gilbert. It seems as though that's our one stumbling block at this point. Queen Creek appears to be willing to give it up, but Gilbert Post Office hasn't agreed to take it yet. We're also working with Santan Lakeside, which is adjacent to us, and they're a small community as well. And we're currently putting a petition together and going through the whole process, but I do believe we might need to look for you for some help at some point to back us in this situation.
Thank you, Todd. And to Vice Mayor Sins, I think we've got Todd's contact information.
We do. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And I think I have Eddie Cook's information as well. So
Great.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for sharing that. We'd love to have you have a Gilbert address.
Yeah.
You're here in Gilbert. Thank you.
Poor Todd, those residents have an identity crisis. Next speaker is Kevin Bishop.
Mayor Lewis, Council, it's great to be here and it's great to see your smiling faces. I just wanted to, apparently we missed the deadline to participate in the communities that we're presenting here today, and so I thought I might mention a couple thoughts and ask for your help. We manage 4 communities in this specific area here: Coronado Ranch, Marbella Vineyards, and Shamrock Estates. And right next to us here we have Cortina that takes in a lot of the amenities of Gilbert, and we get a lot of support from Gilbert PD and Gilbert Fire Department in trying to keep Cortina safe. And I ran the numbers for you, Mayor. It's approximately 11,000 residents live in those 4 communities. And they're all very healthy and financially solvent and have wonderful social programs and doing great things. The help I need from you right now is we're about to embark on Marbella Vineyards Phase 2. And we've got a lot of support from the town on irrigation supply, and we've worked with Shea Homes, and Shea's been a wonderful partner in working together. But we're concerned about the quality of water that we're getting. We're on the reclaimed water system, and the quality of water that we get from the town of Gilbert just is not on par with what we're getting from other municipalities. We manage a community just down the road in Chandler, and the quality of water that we get from there is substantially better. And in Marbella Vineyards, it's quite reflective in the quality of our landscaping, and we're having trouble keeping plants alive. We've struggled to make the turf look good. We're constantly having to repair equipment. We've had to install a acid injection system to try and mitigate the alkalinity and the hardness of the water. And so whatever steps, because our concern as a community at Marbella Vineyards is that when we add on the additional 294 homes, I believe, that Shea is bringing with Phase 2, we're thrilled about it and it's great, but we're concerned that we're going to have further issues unless we improve the quality of the water, because we're going to be drawing water from one small lake. And that lake is pretty tiny for the number of homes that we're going to be surfacing. And the water won't spend much time in the lake for us to condition it, because it's going to be pumped out so quickly to the landscaping areas that we need the town's help to just improve that quality of water so that we can make this thing actually work.
Kevin, thank you. We've made note of that too.
Thank you for your time.
The 4th speaker is John McLemore.
Mayor Lewis, council members, my name is John McLemore. I live in town of Gilbert. I'm treasurer of Greenfield Acres Homeowners Association. And as you might know, over the past couple of years, I've had the opportunity to canvass our neighborhood, knocking on doors and speaking to the residents there. And over that time, basically there have been 3 concerns that we hear over and over again from our residents that I just wanted to mention. One of them specific to Greenfield Acres, and the other 2, are South Gilbert issues. The one specific to Greenfield Acres, we have Adora Trails going on to the south. It's building up. They're starting to have a significant number of residents down there, and over time it'll become more. That's going to be a rather large development. We are in between Higley Road and Val Vista, and a lot of what's happening is a lot of the traffic going up to the 202 and to the shopping up north, rather than going all the way down to Val Vista or all the way over to Higley Road, chooses to take the shortcut, which is right through 163rd, going up and then jutting over and up 162nd, and that goes right through our community. And that's not too bad, but a lot of the traffic's in a hurry. They're not necessarily following the 25-mile-an-hour speed limit rules and such, and that's becoming more and more of a concern with some of the neighbors in the area, a safety issue and such. Now, I had spoken briefly with Helga a couple of days ago. She gave me the name of somebody to call, said that she believed that something was already being planned on this. But I had not heard back from, I believe it was Debbie Waffam. I had not heard back from her, as of yet. This was just yesterday that I talked to her, so I just hadn't gotten a return call. That's our first concern. The other 2 concerns is if you look at the south of Gilbert, and this affects everybody in this room, you look at the park situation. Our nearest park where we could go and play softball, if we wanted to organize a softball league, is Discovery Park. And for the entire south, they have 3 multi-purpose fields that are available there. Besides that, then you have to go all the way up to Knox Road to find ball fields. And there are church groups, sometimes small businesses and such, that like to establish softball leagues and that type of thing. The park situation here at the south is real scant, to say the least. And, we're interested in a family-type community, wholesome outdoor activities, doing things like playing softball and such, we believe should be a part of that. The third, issue that we heard quite a bit about was, the increase in density to the south. There's a whole lot of higher density, there's a lot of medium density, and there's a lot of low density. And we kind of like the mix that's there. And people are becoming concerned that, you see it time after time, none of the people asking for rezoning requests, or if there are any, they're very few, are asking for an increase. Asking for a decrease in density. They're all looking for an increase in residential density. And part of the charm of this area is the diversity. And so we're losing the potential for some of that diversity down here. And there are still 1-acre lots and such. On the west side of the Greenfield Acre community, it's scheduled for R01 right now. We're concerned at what that may be rezoned for and such. So those were the 3 concerns that we had. Something else I wanted to pass on that several people in the community mentioned when we were going door to door is how good that the staff, Town of Gilbert staff, is at treating the customers, which are the residents. And I wanted to express appreciation. I know personally I've talked to Albert Pineta, Edgar Medina. All of these people, they're very good at getting back to us. They're very polite. They're very good at getting answers for us. And I just wanted to pass on that we have a really good group of civil servants working here for the town. And I wanted to express appreciation.
John, thank you. Noted. Some great feedback there. And the council's heard me use that expression. I didn't make it up, but feedback is like a gift. And so to those who took the time to come and share those feelings and those comments and suggestions, thank you. To the town council, that's the end of our study session agenda. Did we miss anything? And Town Manager Banjer, anything else that you needed to bring up? Thank you again. We'll be available for a few minutes to have additional opportunities to meet you, and the study session is officially adjourned.